Skill Up Mississippi is an initiative through the Office of Adult Education at the Mississippi Community College Board. Serving all 82 counties, Skill Up provides free and flexible programs through high school diploma preparation, our job readiness course, Smart Start, and My Best. To learn more about how adult education is skilling up our students in Mississippi, visit our website at www.skillupmississippi.com. Welcome to our Skill Up podcast. Today we have Kelly Parker from the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College Adult Education Program, where she serves as their director. And we started this, Kelly, I think you were back with us in November, and we thought we had a pretty good interview, and then we're told the lighting was bad and that we needed to redo it. And so we've tried to have you on a couple of other times, but now we're going to do it virtual, and we're going to see how this goes today. So thank you for your willingness to come back and just kind of talk about what y'all are doing at Gulf Coast. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, again. You know, the last time you were here, you wouldn't talk about it. It was the lunch that you had. We wouldn't talk about it on the podcast. And I know that your husband is the type that likes to venture and tell me just a little bit about that. Like, you don't talk about what you had for lunch, but you can talk about y'all's experience of Jackson.
Yes, he is a huge adventurer, and I am not. I'm very, I like to stay in my lane. And so he had heard about a restaurant in Jackson that served some questionable sounding food. And it was actually on the TV show, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And so we hunted it down and we did try the food, and it wasn't our thing, but we had a great experience and we laughed a lot about that whole thing. But yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
Well, that was just kind of a day for you to experience something new like that, than to try to come on a podcast afterwards. And I think we laughed about that, you know. But, you know, if we think about the different adventures that we go through, don't you kind of feel like sometimes adult education, we're on an adventure?
Every day is a new adventure.
Every day is something new, isn't it? It's just crazy. And I think about, and I think we discussed this too in the last time, was that you came on as a brand new director, and probably within 4 months you were being monitored by our office.
Yes.
You've gone through 2 or 3 hurricanes.
Well, actually, I think when I was up there in November, we had just had one, or I don't remember. Something was happening. Maybe that was a close
call. It was coming, wasn't it? Because you were putting the rocking chairs off the porch.
Yes. So yeah, we've actually had a couple of hurricanes. I had to write the grant last year.
Oh yes. All right. Just trying for your program to keep going. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was monitored, and yeah, it was a really big. I've only been in this role for like 19 months, and I feel like I've had every type of situation confront me, you know, even down to a pandemic.
I know. I was about to say, and now we have COVID.
I mean, I shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, you should not be surprised by that, just by your record of how you came in. So, but I'm gonna tell you, I think you've just done a phenomenal job, and I do believe that you have the support there at Gulf Coast, from top leadership down, to guide and help you. So that's kind of what I want to dive into today, is just number one, how you're running your program and your faculty and your staff, and how you guys have just kind of overcome this year, and some things that you're doing. And then we'll get into, you know, the support that you have from your immediate boss up into, you know, of course, the president of Mississippi Gulf Coast, and the investment that she has in your program. So let's just start off by talking about, you know, where you came from and how you got into adult ed, and just go from there.
Okay. Well, I think like most people, adult ed was not in my career path. I kind of stumbled upon it. I thought that I was going to be a public school teacher until the day I died. And I actually started teaching part-time back in 2003. I taught 2 nights a week, and I was able to stay at home with my babies and
Oh, yeah.
teach. And when the last one went to school, I started full time in adult ed, and I have not looked back since. I decided a couple years ago to further my education, so I got my master's with the intention of maybe one day being director. And that all happened very quickly. And here it is 19 months later. And um, it's been a wonderful experience because I've had the classroom experience, and then now I'm looking at it from another angle. And it's very interesting to see how the program operates from this side.
Yeah.
And I've recently learned that I love the budgets and I love
Oh, well,
working with
that's a
those
good thing.
numbers.
Yeah.
I did not think that I would be that way. Um, but yeah, so we're doing great down here. We have had, like everybody else, had to make a lot of adjustments
Yeah.
because of COVID.
Yeah.
And we have, I was going to count them up, and because I always get them mixed up, we have, I think, 7 locations that we have adult ed classes.
Mhm.
And 2 of those are correctional facilities. We have full-time classes on almost all of our sites. And we have 2 ESL full-time instructors. That's new. We just added those a couple of, well, probably within the past 18 months, we've added 2 full-time instructors for ESL.
And that's,
Um,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's a population that we
very,
are really trying to increase our efforts with. And that's a population, if you don't mind me saying, that takes a lot of, you have to know how to engage with
yeah,
them, and the reservations that
yeah.
come with them coming into your program.
Mhm.
And so let's talk about that for 1 second. Is there any type of special training, or is there anything that when you're looking for an ESL teacher, because Cindy Heimbach and I've talked about this, there's a misconception that your ESL teachers speak a different language,
Yes,
but they don't.
right.
90% of them do not.
Yes. I actually have hired the 2 that we have, and the first one, Miss Jane, um, within probably a couple of months of me coming on board as director, we interviewed her. And I'm just going to tell you, when she walked in, we knew, we knew
She just had it.
she just had it. And now most of the ESL instructors don't have that second language, but she actually has 2 additional languages.
That's good.
So she speaks Vietnamese, and she also speaks Spanish.
Oh,
So we have a very large Vietnamese population in Harrison County.
right.
So she is at that campus. So that has tremendously helped us. As far as our other ESL instructor, Emily, she it was basically the same thing almost when she came in. She just had the persona that we were looking for, and I can't even tell you what that is. But I did, right before I came up to see you for the first interview. I had the privilege of monitoring their classrooms, and I was just in awe. I was in complete awe of how they engage with the students, how everybody in there they may be on a different level, but they're all engaged in some fashion. And so I was very, very impressed by both of them, and their ways that they run their classroom. But they're doing great. Emily actually has never taught ESL before,
Oh, well, that's
but
interesting.
her
Wow.
tables are great. I mean, she has caught on so quickly. But we are super blessed with our ESL. Also, we're also doing the Smart Start now in ESL for our higher level.
Right. We changed that. We updated our course to meet those students.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's been a little bit of a challenge, but it's something that we're working on. We also have a handful that we're trying. We've had a couple go through some of our reskill training for forklift and OSHA, some of our ESL students. So we were excited about that too.
Well, that's so great to hear. Y'all are always rocking and rolling. And I'm always so, when you and I talk, we talk just about every week, I think. And
Mhm.
every time you say something, I'm like, oh my goodness, y'all are doing that. Y'all are doing that. So you're always doing something, trying to meet the needs of the diverse, students that you see on a daily basis. And so you've touched on ESL. And so I know that we offer high school equivalency classes and everything that we offer in our adult education programs, we know are free. People don't
Right,
really realize that everything is free. Uh,
right,
but we're not just about high school equivalency, and we use that term high school equivalency, but that's just basically saying it's not your traditional K-12 diploma, but they're getting, now, do y'all test for both the GED and the HiSET?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And so a lot of people don't realize that we have multiple paths in order for you to get your high school,
Mhm.
equivalency diploma. And so now, do you offer testing? How often do y'all offer your testing on your sites?
For HSE testing,
Yeah.
it's definitely weekly,
Okay.
especially at our larger campuses, Park, Jackson County and Harrison County. Yeah, they do them probably they offer something every day of the week.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Well, and I know when we visited your campus before, and I think we've been down there a couple of times since we've monitored you, and it's always so busy.
Mhm.
And I know that y'all have the way that y'all have incorporated My Best
Mhm.
into adult ed, and I think this is from the leadership of John Shows, and correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Absolutely.
But I know that it's been some tedious work
Mhm.
to get My Best incorporated into your adult education program, but it's such a benefit to your students. Why don't you talk about how y'all have done that and what My Best is, just in case somebody's, new listening to this and they
Mhm.
didn't see our original podcast with McKenna Parnes, who's over, My Best.
Mhm.
Why don't you talk about what My Best is and how y'all have incorporated that
Well, I go way back with My Best too. Back
from the
whenever
classroom?
yeah, in the classroom, I was a team teacher. I learned a lot about welding and mechanical maintenance more than I probably wanted to know,
Right?
but it was a wonderful experience. It really was. We had a lot of success, and we still are having success. Right now, this is the first year that we have offered any kind of workforce options for our My Best, so that has been new. So our students come in, they need high school equivalency because that's what everybody says when they come in. I want my GED.
Yeah.
And it's hard to explain to people, well, adult education is not just about getting your GED anymore. And I've been around long enough that I remember when it was
Right.
just get your GED, and it's transformed so much. And whereas we used to be a very small pocket of MGCCC, and we really didn't get out of our bubble very much.
Right.
Now we are intertwined with admissions, and we have contacts in financial aid, and so it's really broadened us. So if we have a student that comes in and says, "I want my HSE," um, we do the intake with them, and if they qualify for My Best, then we have our My Best navigator that reaches out to them. We also have our regular college and career navigators. My Best is talked about a lot. Um,
Hmm.
we have PowerPoints that our My Best navigator will go in. She actually visited every single classroom in December. I think it was the first week of December. She visited every single classroom in every single campus, recruiting for this semester. So we have lots of options as far as, like I said, we have workforce. We have quite a few that have registered in CNA.
Hmm.
And I think that's gonna be a really popular one because a lot of students, especially female students, will come in and say, well, what do you have in the medical field? And so now we can offer that.
Right.
We also have some registered in pharmacy tech.
Hmm.
Um, and then, of course, workforce welding and ship fitting. And then we also have credit. So any of our students that might think that they want to go into a credit pathway,
Right.
we have, I, I think we have a lot of approved pathways.
Hmm.
Um, And Mr. Show's made that happen. He did
Right.
that before I came on board. He made sure that all of our pathways were approved so that these students would have all of these options. We didn't want to create a box for
Right.
students. So that's exciting because this semester we actually have some in our career tech program of criminal justice. We
Oh,
have
wow.
2 in
Okay.
there, so we're excited about that. And we've also branched out into computer programming. So, and then our normal ones that are always popular, we have early childhood development, and
Right.
then we
Yeah.
also have our business office technology. And
That
business
is
office
popular.
technology is probably one of our more popular ones right now
Mhm.
because the students can take the classes online.
Yes. Yes.
And that's important to students at this point in this crazy world we're living in. So,
Yeah. And
so
that's
yeah.
the one, and one thing, just to put it in simple terms, for our audience too, my best is where students can work on their high school equivalency, whether they're choosing to go the GED or the high set route, while they're working on a short-term training, whether that's a workforce, and kudos to y'all for a workforce training programs, increasing those options for your students, but they could also be working on college credit. So they have there are several things. And what we have seen, and I know when I was at Holmes Community College, CNA would always be, for a majority of people, that stepping stone to get into maybe LPN or respiratory or pharmacy tech or maybe
Right.
not pharmacy tech, physical therapy tech, or
Right.
even going to RN, and so yes, a lot of people may do the CNA, and stay in that, but then we also see that those are steps, and that's where we've kind of built our career pathways. A lot of people don't realize that we're building career pathways for our students, and having that initial contact with them when they walk in the door, that advising, okay, what do you want to do, what
Right.
career do you want, and where do you see yourself, and that way you can show them, okay, we're starting here, at the end of the day, or at the end of your goal, you could be here.
Right.
And for them to be able to visually see that. So I know you've been working on that. I know we've talked about your pathways and the things that students can earn on the way, because don't you see sometimes our students, they don't want to stop out, they don't want to quit, but sometimes life just throws challenges at them
Yes.
and they have to kind of stop out. But so if we can have some certificates for them while they're building on that pathway, if they do have to stop out, they could possibly get a job. And
Exactly.
so do you see that going on a little bit, where your students are having to stop out just because of situations that go on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, in the past, prior to COVID, they would be like, well, we can't come to class. Well, we didn't have an option. Well,
Right.
now we have an option. Now we have Smart Start online. We even have an HSE class online.
I was about to ask you about that.
Yeah, Maya Wable did an amazing job on our Canvas.
I'd love to see that. Yeah,
Of
absolutely.
course, yes. And of course, it's a work in progress, and every couple of weeks she and I will talk to each other and say, well, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about this? But she's really rocking and rolling with that. We actually have, I think, about 23 enrolled in our online HSE class.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That's
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah. And of course, we're offering our Smart Start online as well. And we really try to have our students, is there any way that you can come to class? And we
Right.
try to let the online be a last resort, because we don't want to not have the students learning and progressing.
Right.
We want to have that option. And the option we had to adjust because of COVID.
Right.
But we do have 2 Smart Start online classes that are strictly online. And I think we have about 45 or 50 enrolled in those. So we have those options. So we're excited about that. We also have laptops now. So if the student can't come to class and doesn't have a laptop, they can check out a laptop. And if they don't have internet, the college is full of hotspots. So they could just simply drive into the parking lot and connect to Wi-Fi. I mean, that wouldn't be ideal, but they have that option too. So
And there are a lot of places around. I know that we have put the different Wi-Fi capabilities
mhm,
around our state on our website, the skillupmississippi.com website, just for our students to have the capability to be able to go somewhere and just hook
right.
up, to the Wi-Fi for free. And so that's been a great resource for all of our programs too. Well, y'all are just blowing it up down there. I'm telling you, for someone that's only been in here for 19 months, I'm going to tell you, I just have a lot of respect for teachers because,
Yes.
and I think it's, fantastic that you being a director, you've been in the classroom,
Hmm.
because, and now I taught Smart Start at Homes, but that's all I taught. And
Hmm.
so a lot of our teachers are teaching both. We
Right.
have, you might have several that are
Yeah.
teaching, you know, math, language, reading, social
Right.
studies, science, but they've
Hmm.
also teaching the workforce participation course, Smart Start,
Hmm.
and so that's a juggle in itself.
Yeah.
And one thing that we've talked about too, that a lot of people don't realize out there is, you may have different levels of
Yeah.
students in your classroom. And
Hmm.
so you may have some reading on a third grade level over here, but you may have some reading on a 10th grade level over here. And so your teachers are in a balancing act,
Yes.
trying to engage and teach,
Hmm.
both students. And
Yeah.
so I think that is, I personally could not do that. I have two children, one's in college. I have a ninth grader, and I'm like, okay, math, okay, go ask your dad.
Yes.
Go
Yeah.
ask your
Yeah.
father,
Yeah.
And so I do commend our teachers, and I do commend on what y'all are doing down there. How many students do y'all serve? Usually on a regular year,
On a regular year, um, fundable students, meaning they got 12 hours or more. I think last year we serviced about 700. But of course, we had COVID during that. But
right?
usually, I think it's upwards toward 900, maybe 900.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, tell me how y'all have adjusted to COVID. This has kind of been like the question of the year, I think, when
Right.
we talk to
And
people.
everything. Like
And
it doesn't matter if you're talking about education or doctor's offices. How did you survive?
yeah, how,
Um,
how, how did y'all adjust, and,
yes.
and how did your staff adapt to having to teach online?
It was whenever we got shut down, we were on spring break and they made the announcement, we're going to take another week off because we don't know what's going on. And,
Yeah,
it turns out we didn't actually return to the office until probably the end of April, which I think is a lot sooner than a lot of people did.
I was gonna say, because you and I talked, and y'all were
Yeah.
heading back the next week, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I think y'all were the first adult ed
Yeah.
program or first college to kind of go back that soon."
Yeah. So, but what we did for those couple of weeks that we were at home, the teachers were wonderful and they started scheduling Zoom classes. And we had to scramble, just like I'm sure everyone else did, but they did so well with it. Engagement was a little challenging, retention of the students was challenging because everybody else was dealing with the same COVID stuff that we were.
Yeah.
But we survived. And once we came back, the college came up with a plan to establish a max capacity for each classroom. So we did that in all of our adult ed classrooms. We decided how many we could have at one time. Um, and we just started having class. Most of our students, or most of our classrooms, well, some of them are really big, and then some of them are
Right.
smaller. We
Right.
have one classroom that could safely be COVID okay. Probably she can probably have 6 in her room, and
Right.
that's probably the smallest one. Um, they spread out. We wear masks. The teachers have tape on their floor of, don't come across this line, and we just have rocked on.
Yeah.
We do offer intake a lot more because our computer labs where we do intake, we had to establish a max capacity for them too. So for one of them, we can only test 5 students at a time. So
Mhm.
that means we're going to have to test Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Right.
But we're just making it work. And I mean, our adult ed staff here is, I cannot say enough good about them. They put up with me, first of all, and
Oh,
it, it
you're fine.
but they're just a team. They really are. Each campus has their own routine, and we make flow charts and try to be as organized as we can. But yeah, we're doing the intake very frequently and
Mhm.
keeping everybody spread apart. And they also have that online option.
Yeah, yeah, which is a great option
Mhm.
for your students. And and that's another thing too that we have to think about too, or you do as a director, looking at, just because something is going great at this one location
Right.
doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work at this other location. And so I do believe that, and really all of our adult ed programs are like this, all of our directors, you listen to your teachers. If they tell
Mhm.
you, hey, that's not going to work where I'm located,
Right.
you do put a lot of stock into what your teachers tell you.
Yes, yes.
And,
And
and
we have such a difference in our demographics. Like our students in George County, that's a very rural setting up there, and very different from Harrison County campus, where
right,
it's literally a revolving door.
right,
It does not stop over there at that campus. The phone never stops ringing. They never stop coming through the doors.
right.
So everything is just so different with even our geographical locations.
Mhm. We'll talk a little bit about just how I know you mentioned it earlier, your relationship with financial aid and your relationship with admissions. And I had that relationship at Holmes, probably because I had worked there in different capacities at the school, and had those relationships. But I was at that time the transition specialist for adult ed. So I had those relationships already established, but that's been something kind of new for our adult ed programs to have those relationships with financial aid and admissions.
Right.
Really, to be quite honest, back before 2015, it was about just getting your GED. Really, that's all it was. You know,
Right.
and if we assisted students in transitioning, that would be great. That's kind of like
Absolutely.
you did good, but now it's so much more than that. Like I really believe that adult ed is probably one of the biggest recruiters for your college.
Oh yeah, sure.
And we are definitely a player in the workforce development game,
Mhm.
economic development of Mississippi's workforce. And so I do believe those two things are true for adult education. So
Mhm.
talk, if you will, just a little bit on how you've established those relationships, how that kind of came to be, and the transition services that y'all offer your students.
Okay. Well, prior to me being director, we had Miss Brandy, who was our original My
Yeah.
Best Navigator. And she worked very hard. Her and Miss Brenda Davis and Mr. Shows worked very hard to find contacts at each of our campuses that would be our go-to contact. Each of our campuses has their own financial aid director. They have their own admissions director.
Yeah.
So they worked really hard to get that relationship there. Um, since I've moved into director, I'm more out there as far as knowing who I need to talk to, who the navigators need to talk to. Actually, just a few weeks ago, me and our new navigator, my best navigator, Rebecca Vowell, went and sat down with the director of financial aid, who was very helpful about getting one of our students signed up for ability to benefit.
Okay.
So just having that support and her saying, "What can I do to help?" and she was just available. It was a game changer. Um,
Mhm.
it really was. Even with our just little things like our invoicing for background checks and stuff like that, Rebecca has worked really hard getting those contacts and procedures down, because you don't want to have to think, how do I deal with this, or who do I need to talk to?
Right.
So we're still getting our well, I am anyway. Mr. Shows knows everybody and he knows who to talk to. So we pick his brain. I'll say, okay, who do we need to talk to about this? And then he'll say, call up so-and-so. So as for me, I'm still working on making those connections, but I'm just having to follow his lead a lot. But it does make a huge difference having those relationships with the other departments.
Yeah, and it does, because I mean, really now, and we've said this, I think, several times already in our conversation, and I say it all the time, you know, we're just so much more, you know, and the expectations for our students and our mindset now with our faculty and our staff is, you know, it's not just about the test anymore. It's about investing in our students and moving them along, and providing them wraparound services. So, you know, I just cannot commend our adult ed programs, and you being one of them, on how you have reacted to, you know, WIOA, and reacted to the expectations of adult education when it comes to preparing our students for the workforce. And so I just commend y'all on your hard work down there. I think you're, you know, just a great team. And I know that you get a lot of support, though. We've mentioned John Schaub a couple of times, but I know you get a lot of support from him. But I also know that you get a lot of support from your top leadership at the college. And so talk about how important it is for you to communicate what you're doing in adult ed to those, because you are making a difference for the college.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, MGCCC has had a very strong relationship with adult ed a long time before I came along. I came into this and that foundation had already been laid. I really could not imagine asking for a more supportive group of administration behind our program, because I can go to Mr. Schaus and say, hey, what about this, this, and this? And he'll be excited and run across the hall and run it past Dr. Woodward, and it'll just go up. And so I've had many conversations with Dr. Woodward, just updating him. He wants to know what's happening. He wants to know what grant covers what and how we can recruit. And we have even our institutional relations. I've had many conversations with Kristen Duhay about what can we do to advertise. As a matter of fact, I wrote down on my to-do list today to call Kristen, because I need to do some advertising. And
we were going to go on that TV together.
I know.
TV show together.
I know.
But now that you're a Facebook star, now that you're a Facebook star doing all your live recording, we can start doing that. We'll get some experience.
We can get a channel, the adult ed channel.
Oh, we should get an adult ed channel. That would be awesome.
I think there used to be one through PBS, or maybe like classes or something. I don't remember.
We'll have to look into that. So,
but yeah, I have a great support system here. Even down to Miss Louise in finance. Just, I could not do it without them, honestly.
Yeah, and you've got a great staff and a great college down there, and I know that you guys are going to just continue to thrive for the remainder of this year. You know, one thing that we did not even mention is, this should have been mentioned at the very beginning, is I know you mentioned 7 locations. Is that what you said? But what counties do y'all cover? And then if anybody, and just go back to your website if you want to let people know how to find your programs.
Yes, we cover Harrison County, Stone County, George County, and Jackson County. And those are big geographical regions to cover.
Yes.
I mean, it would take probably an hour and a half to go from my furthest west to my other, it would be like northeast. I mean, so it's a long ways. So yeah, we cover those counties, and I don't remember the other question you asked me.
No, I was just going to say that we just provide a website for them to be able to to go
Um,
find your classes.
Yes, it's mgccc.edu/adult-ed.
Okay.
We even have a form on there. We recently just got this done for recruiting purposes, but there's a form for information. The students can fill out that information and we will contact them via phone or email. We also have a My Best webpage as well with the same form, and we can get student information through there.
Okay, so mgccc.edu/adult-ed. Awesome. And there's a form on there. We want to thank you, Kelly, for coming on again. I'm hoping our lighting's good and
I hope it is.
that Mark will find it sufficient.
I
So
hope it's okay.
yes, well, I think it will be. And it's always a joy to speak with you and visit with you. And so thank you guys so much for joining us. If you will just go visit skillupmississippi.com to find out more about adult education and what we're doing in Mississippi. And so thank you and have a great day.